Once upon a time, Hawaii was its own sovereign nation thanks to King Kamehameha I, who brought all of the islands together to become a unified kingdom after years of conflict between them. He ended what many believed was as many as 100 years of war. Just 9 years later in 1819, he died as the first king of the Hawaiian people. However, his influence was tremendous, and the islands stayed united after his death. Even as early as the first king's reign, foreigners were very interested in the islands. A captain in the British Royal Navy called Captain James Cook and the crew of the HMS Resolution arrived at the Hawaiian Islands in 1778. He and his crew stayed a while, getting to know the Hawaiian people until eventually they overstayed their visit, resulting in a fight that killed Captain James Cook and 4 Marines. The rest of the crew left in 1779, but foreign interest in the islands of Hawaii would only become more prevalent after. Hawaii had many things to offer to the rest of the world, starting with resources including sugar and tropical fruits like pineapples that Hawaii is now known for. During the 1830s, under the rule of King Kamehameha III, the first sugar plantations were developed. This was important because sugar eventually became very prevalent for Hawaii's economy. This resource was very immediately seen by many foreigners for the potential it held for profit. 3 American businessmen leased land from the king for a plantation that became wildly successful and was run by them for 12 years. Soon, the California gold rush occurred, causing sugar and other products and services from Hawaii to become immensely sought out. After the gold rush, Hawaii and the United States had very regular commerce with each other, including a huge emphasis on sugar exports from Hawaii. America in particular started to look at Hawaii as a resource rather than a neighbor. The things that Hawaii could offer them went even further than just fruits and sugar. Hawaii could offer them military privileges if they could have access to their ports and naval base. Throughout Hawaii's time as a sovereign nation, many privileges were awarded to outsiders by the monarchy. The monarchy was pressured to give up amounts of power in the form of documents like the Convention of 1839, which gave power and money to France, the Reciprocity Treaty of 1887, which gave economic privileges and Pearl Harbor to America, and the 1887 Constitution of the Hawaiian Kingdom, which was written by foreigners and signed by King Kalakaua at gunpoint, leading it to be known as the Bayonet Constitution. The Bayonet Constitution took power away from the monarchy and changed the law to dictate that one must own land in order to vote, giving foreigners the right to vote on the islands, and taking away that right from any Hawaiian citizens who didn't own land. This was all just a precursor to the eventual coup that took the next monarch, Queen Liliuokalani, out of power entirely. Queen Liliuokalani was unhappy with the amount of power that had been taken away from the monarchy and tried to restore some of it. She had already publicly denounced the renewal of the Reciprocity Treaty, making her stance known before she even became queen. Once she started attempting to remove the grasp that foreigners had on their legislature, they struck. A group that called itself the Committee of Safety deposed Queen Liliuokalani. They seized control of the palace, and the queen surrendered in order to avoid bloodshed. During the time of the deposition, Benjamin Harrison was the President of the United States. Hawaii's provisional government, which was led by a man named Sanford Dole, tried to annex Hawaii to the United States under Benjamin Harrison's administration. However, the treaty wasn't drafted and up for approval until Grover Cleveland came into office, derailing their plans by retracting the treaty and starting an investigation into the overthrow headed by James Henderson Blount. The report produced by this investigation is known as the Blount Report. The investigation included first-hand accounts and official statements from the Hawaiian people. However, it did not interview the Committee of Safety, causing some to call the report produced biased. In the end, the Blount Report concluded that the overthrow of the Queen had happened against the wishes of the majority of the Hawaiian people and that it had been lawless. President Cleveland used the report to appeal to Congress to help restore the Queen to power, which led to a proposition that Queen Liliuokalani could return to power if the Americans involved in the overthrow were granted amnesty. In addition to this, Sanford Dole was ordered to dissolve the provisional government and give power back to the Queen. However, Dole refused to dissolve the government, and Queen Liliuokalani did not agree at first to grant amnesty to the Committee of Safety once she was reinstated. The combination of unwilling parties led President Cleveland to hand the case over to the Senate, leading to the Morgan Report, a report that seemingly contradicted everything the Blount Report claimed and which seemed to exonerate all involved U.S. parties of blame. Despite the hard work of Queen Liliuokalani, her niece Ka'iulani, the heir apparent and successor to the throne if not for her aunt's deposition, and President Cleveland, no official moves were ever made on the part of the United States to dissolve the provisional government of Hawaii and reinstate Queen Liliuokalani. Eventually, Grover Cleveland was no longer in office, and his successor, President William McKinley, officially annexed Hawaii to the United States in 1897. The treaty he signed made Hawaii a U.S. territory, which at this time was known as the Republic of Hawaii. Not long after, in April of 1898, the United States went to war with Spain, and Hawaii turned out to be a valuable asset to the U.S., despite their declaration of neutrality. Due to this, Hawaii was officially annexed in August of that year by the New Lands Resolution, a bill that was executed through a 2/3 majority vote in the Senate. Despite an apology issued by the United States and signed by President Bill Clinton around 100 years later in 1993, the Hawaiian Islands remain as an official U.S. state. Some tensions remain, but as it stands, the Hawaiian monarchy is nothing more than once upon a time now.